So, um, Barsha, I'm gonna do your introduction first. So Barsha is a developer advocate for evmux.com. She's also a community organizer and an open source advocate, and a member of just about every social network on the planet, I think. I don't think there's one you're not a member of. Um, Barsha especially advocates for valuing non-code contributions to open source, and has a couple of open source projects herself. So with that, I'm going to hand over to you, Barsha.
I hope this is visible to you. So I can begin. Firstly, my name is Barsha Das, and some things about me which is not mentioned on a lot of my social profiles is that I am a second year, college sophomore studying at the Department of Computer Science from a college here in India. And apart from that, I work part time with a company named evmarks.com. It produces video streaming platforms just like Vito. So a little about me. um, I am the co-organizer for CNCF Asia Kolkata chapter. CNCF is basically Cloud Native Computing Foundation. I am also co-organizing a Kubernetes conference which is called Kube Huddle. I also mentor folks, every weekend. I teach people every weekend some different subjects like mathematics, computer science, etc. So, to begin with, what am I exactly here for? So I'm here to cover up some fundamental points which I often do not see being discussed over various meetups, conferences, or events that I go to. But I feel those are equally essential as to development, engineering, and other relevant fields. And that is the humanity and the business side of tech. So, who am I to talk about business? Have I done any business myself? Well, exactly, yes, I have. But that business is a real estate business, which is not that relevant with what I do here, in the tech community. But I've got some knowledge as to how to run a business, what to do, and what not to do. And through this presentation, I'm going to take you through. And I honestly did not know what to put in a presentation, so I put in what my heart felt like sharing with all of you. So, a small reason why I decided to come up here at the Dublin DevRel meetup, this virtual meetup, is because I love talking to people and I love speaking to people a lot. Like a one-to-one conversations are literally one of my best places. It's not that I don't like big tech conferences and conferences, that welcomes 10K guests, but I think this one-to-one conversation, seeing somebody, speaking to somebody, and giving my dedicated attention is what I love the most. And that is the reason I'm here for you. So in this first slide of the presentation, you can see a QR code. This is for you. You can take out your phones and scan this QR code, and this QR code is going to take you through all the social profile links that I have. And you have the option and the freedom to connect with me in whichever platform possible. So connect before, I wander off. So, you know, just by the introduction that you heard from Richard, that I do work as a developer advocate at EVMux, and I work in the development team and also the product team as well, and also spend some time with the business development team as well. So this is the person who called me to work at evmugs.com on a Monday morning, and I decided to hop in the call. I decided to join his DevRel team at evmugs.com. So this is what I wanted to show all of you guys. The time that I spend in community, talking to people, mentoring people, managing different tech communities worldwide, building projects by sitting at home or from the luxury of any destination that I'm working out of. And I'm getting to meet all these globally active folks all around the world who are not only awesome professionals, but they are awesome folks and people and human beings as well. And what does this particular gallery of pictures represent? These represent giving back to community. And I believe in this philosophy to give back to the community. In the holy book of our Indian culture, which is the Bhagavad Gita, it's been said many times subtly that give back to people without asking anything from them. And we ask why. There should be a mutual contribution. There should always be a give and take. Well, not necessarily. Always build yourself like somebody who can give back, because giving back will open doors to infinite opportunities and bountiful experiences. Just this is just not the reason that I give back to the community because I'm going to get a lot of things in return. This is who I really am. This is somebody that I was as a child, and this is what I carried forward when I grew up.
Sorry, Barsha, to interrupt. I think your share has stopped again. Did you check?
Oh, that's oh yeah, I guess. Is it visible right now?
Yes, it's come back. It's come back.
Okay.
Marvelous.
Where was I? Yeah. So, can you see my screen, Richard?
Yes, I can see it now.
All right. Thank you. So, just picking up from where I left is giving back to the community. Now, coming to the main point as to why I put it up in my slide. I put this particular topic in my slide as to giving back to the community is so important. Because when you give back to the community, you get to hear the subtle points that most people miss out. Now, why do you need to hear and listen? This is essential as to when you're building an organization, a community, you know, any brand, any group, or anything where there are, you know, a lot of people and a group of people required. And when you're giving back to the community, you get a bird's eye view of what is happening in the ecosystem that you want to work in, what is happening in the ecosystem that probably you can solve, what are the gaps that you can fill. That is so important to that is the reason that we should actually stay, grounded and be humble and give back to the community every single day, because community is not going to probably give us a lot of tangible benefits, but it can actually help us grow. It can give us a holistic approach to life and how to move forward. You not only help people in the community learn, you help people emotionally, mentally, spiritually to grow. It's a responsibility that you take on your head to be able to add some form of value to people's life. And that is the reason I keep contributing to the community in whichever capacity I can. But I also value one is to one mentorships as well. I try to give back to people my dedicated attention. There are some people who do require it, who do has the potential to turn out to be somebody that you can be proud of tomorrow. So take out the time to listen to individuals, what their problems are, what exactly are they looking for, and what's exactly you can fill. This interaction of mine with the community at large and with individuals specifically helps me understand how the entire tech ecosystem is working towards. What is exactly there that is missing in the tech ecosystem that I can probably fill in? And even if I'm not able to fill in, I can probably make sure that I can create a group who can help me fill in the gaps that is so required to be filled in the market. And by listening to all of these folks at large and to all of these folks individually, I understand the problems that they go through every single day. So, by spending loads and loads of time understanding what they have to say, I finally decide to team up and pair up with industry professionals, professionals who work in the industry, professionals who have seen the entire ecosystem and the landscape from a macro level point of view. They understand how to approach somebody, they understand how to form a structure and get things delivered. So, up till now, we understood that it is required for us to be human, to be able to understand people from their shoes, to be empathetic to what they need. And once you know it, you can team up with like minded individuals to deliver what they need. So once I pair up with industry professionals, with experts who already has a track record, proof of work and credibility in the industry, I work towards building something with them. So far, I decided to start a podcast which is called The Cookie Button Show. And through these podcasts, I address the needs that my community, the community members, have shared with me over a period of time. And through this initiative, which I say the Cookie Button Show, I have been able to associate with so many organizations, institutions who deliver value at large. These are some of the institutions that I have displayed, but there are a lot more. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to put together something that can add value to people. And once I associated with these people and their organizations, I decided to go and do something for the community at large and build something together. These are some of the podcasts that I've recorded that have helped people at large to understand how these systems, how these landscape and how these ecosystem works. But they are just not limited to this. These are some of the examples. How I worked with open links, how I worked with Zap, how I worked with Cilium, and I've helped the people achieve what they wanted to achieve by being in the ecosystem. And in a nutshell, I'd like to wrap up that my points were about getting involved with the community. Once we get involved with the community, it's much more important to listen to what the community has to say. I repeat again, do not hear what they say, listen to what they say. There's a fine line between hearing and listening. And I leave it up to you guys to figure out what that fine line is. Because once you do, a lot of things in your life, the perspective on life, and how you work and how you live your life at large changes. And once you figure out what your community wants, you can slowly work towards building it. And once you keep building it, work every single day in sustaining it. Through this brief presentation that I prepared in a very short amount of time, because I really wanted to put together something that would probably add a lot of value to people's life. I wanted to blend in and morph in humanity and business together, of how being human can open a lot of doors for each of us, and it can help us create things and leave a dent in people's life at large. This is what I wanted to put in. This is what I wanted to uplift, and this is what I wanted to, encourage in the community who is listening to this right now or who will probably listen to this. That try to be human first, try to be empathetic because that is required. And how can you do so? By joining a community, by joining a like-minded community, by joining any group or a union that you can connect with, understand what's the mentality like, understand how to go about solving problems or adding value. And once you do, form a team yourself, build a ecosystem yourself, and deliver highest quality value to people. I hope this presentation was something that added value. And in this very first presentation, I just wanted to keep it very clear to what I particularly believe in. Because moving forward, I will probably speak with a lot of you, I will probably connect with a lot of you, and then we are going to keep the communication forward. And as we keep the communication forward, I will have bunch and bunch of things to share with you all. Now I'm going to wrapping up. These are my socials. I'm available on Twitter at the rate Barsha blog and on LinkedIn at the rate Barsha blog. And if you have scanned the QR code before, you would know that I'm also available on some other social media platforms. So in case you're not available on Twitter or LinkedIn, you can connect with me in whichever platforms you like it. And my email is actually thebarshablog at the rate gmail.com. I hope this presentation added some form of value. Please do connect with me to learn more and what I do about community management, about product, and about how tech leadership and business. Thank you so much.
Barsha, thank you so much. That was fabulous, wonderful. And thank you also for. I know you stayed up late to to come and speak to us tonight as well. So thank you very much for doing that. And we did get to see the slides. Don't worry. So I'm, as usual, as host, I'm going to ask the first question. So I think you hit on a really powerful insight, even almost from the start of your presentation, about the power of community, but also about the dynamics of community and how an individual or indeed a company should approach community. And what I see, the mistake I see that happens a lot is, especially companies tend to view communities as just another marketing channel, and you're just buying sponsorship or whatever. And that, everybody likes swag and sponsorship for sure, right? But the most powerful results from community, and I've seen this in 2 different companies now, the most powerful results come from this idea of just giving to the community. So I think it's really really critical insight that idea that first you just give to the community is fundamental to making it work. How did you get that insight? How did you? That's my question. Where did that insight for you come from? Was it personal experience? A mentor? How did you come to that?
Richard, could you please repeat your question? I just missed out.
Oh, so my question was, how did you get to the insight that communities are about giving, right? It's not about expecting something back from the community. You get the most out of community when you give directly to the community. Was that from personal experience or was it from a mentor? Because it's a very, very deep insight.
So there are a lot of people involved, honestly. So there's no one single person or just about one person that I can credit this, this learning to. But I would say, my parents, my family, especially my grandmother, was quite involved in teaching these principles to me when I was a child. That giving back is, the probably one of the most valuable things you can do in your life. And of course, all the time, giving back and expecting something will literally just break your heart. And it does, because I think everybody will relate to this, that when they give something, they instantly expect that what am I getting out of this. And that's when they realize that that expecting constantly as to what I am getting will actually ruin them more than anything else in life. And giving back to community is probably the biggest thing. I think I learned this, first of all, as I mentioned, directly from family. And then when I started getting involved with more and more tech communities worldwide, is that's when I realized that people are getting impacted on a wider scale and a wider level. Is the time that I realized that giving back to the community is very powerful.
Marvelous. I think just a follow-on comment from that is that there's a lot of talk in DevRel about metrics and trying to demonstrate value and all that sort of stuff. And I think part of the message that we have to give to the wider world of the tech companies that we work for is that sometimes it's quite hard to measure. And seeking to always try to measure it is not as effective as you. In fact, of just giving to community generates an awful lot of luck for companies. How do you measure luck? I don't know. Sinead, I know you had put a question in the chat, and you had said to me your sound is a little funny, but do you want to try asking it directly?
Yeah, I'm okay here. Actually, just a quick note on community and giving and Barsha, from the Indian perspective. I was just at a wedding in India in February, and it was the first wedding I've ever been to where I was given a gift for attending the wedding, and it was like they were giving, and it was like, okay, I'm enough. Thank you for your presentation, just brilliant. The listening was really powerful, that message. And you were talking about community, and I'm just wondering again, in organizations, how have you any ideas on how you would get cross team or develop a community across functions where people maybe aren't used to, there's rarely that I've come across communities of accountants within, business. So this developer community, how do you encourage that habit and that culture across other teams, do you think, in organizations? You may not be able to answer it, but thank you anyway.
Okay, yeah, I would surely take this opportunity to answer that because I have been doing it myself. Is because that is where I understand hiring is so important. Is that since you mentioned that how do you align the cross functional teams and make them understand and align on a certain goal? I think it just starts at the very basic level that you hire right, that is important, and spend a lot of time in understanding which kind of people or which group of people aligns with what we are building here, and that starts from there. And that is the reason from all from all across the world, I hear CEOs, founders, and even recruiters say that hiring is so difficult. So the number one thing is actually hiring. It's about understanding which people fits the best interests, and once they do, it's pretty much simple to just align them to the same idea. So even I started college because I'm still at college, and I do a lot of activities at the very grassroots level from college with corporations, with startups. So I've seen that alignment happens when you understand which kind of people fits the best. They fill up the gap, the people who are actually bringing some sort of value. So I believe that alignment mentally, and that alignment just spiritually understanding what to do, what not to do, and which people can do it right is I feel it's kind of crucial in aligning cross functional team. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Will, I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe you had a question you wanted to ask in person.
No questions. I loved your talk, Barsha. This is really fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. So let's see now. In the chat, we have a couple. From Jose. So Jose says, do you notice any specific social media platform being more effective for community building, especially remotely? And I guess this is, should you have a Discord or a Slack or whatever? What do you think? What platforms are best?
Absolutely. Actually, I have a straightaway answer, but will not give the straightaway answer. I'll come to it at the last. The reason being, Jose was actually right. That does it depend on the audience and the topic? Oh yes, it does.
Okay.
Like at EVMux, to be very honest, the place where I'm doing developer advocacy at, it's surprising that their community is actually active over Facebook.
Right.
So right now, if you actually look at different communities worldwide, tech communities, you will either find them active over Twitter or Discord, or and also Slack. But EVMux is also a tech community, and its users are both tech savvy and non-tech savvy people, but they are still kind of active over Facebook. So I feel it does depend on the kind of people that you're dealing with. What's their competency level is in handling a certain social media site, and which topics there are. So especially with tech communities, Jose, to answer your question, like how to grow a community or start a community that's related to tech, or it's a technical community, I'll see that Twitter is actually the best place for it. Like people have oftentimes said that Twitter is probably the best community for developers and people in the world of tech. So, and we have seen that, like we have heavily networked. We have spoken with so many people over Twitter spaces. We do understand that Twitter is a absolutely amazing place for building a tech community. But otherwise, if you're growing some other form of communities, you might just consider looking into Discord or Slack, as once again it depends on who your audience is. So yes, it does depend.
Marvelous. And of course, I'm obliged to say Vito, the platform we're using at the moment, is also pretty good. But I'm biased. Now, we also have one from Leo. So do you have any advice for someone that lives in a region that doesn't have many tech communities but wants to start one? How do you approach people? How do you organize things, and how do you split your time between study and work? This question is kind of interesting. So myself and Sinead are based in Ireland, and it has quite a good tech community now, lots of meetups. But rewind 15 years and not very much at all. So we're kind of lucky that things have progressed in Ireland. But if you're in if you're in a country where it hasn't, or somewhere that's remote, how do you go about generating community?
Right. So, if, it kind of depends on the very fundamental reason as to why you require a community in the first place. Why is it required? Is because there has to be a purpose, right? We do everything for a purpose. People are purpose driven at one point of time, even if they agree or they don't. So, first of all, it's very much important to recognize that purpose. Like, why do you require a community? Like, can you not work without a community? Can you not work individually? So first, that question needs to be answered, that yeah, do I really require one, or you don't? Now, how to start one? There's a very fundamental reason of how to start one. The person who is starting, they do need to learn a lot, because the person, who takes the initiative, they do need to understand, how things are really boiling down to what are the basics. So if anybody, listening, wants to start a community all by themselves, doesn't have too much of support or resources, learn. Where to learn from? Internet is the best place. Figure out different things. So I am not going to share a one particular resource, because you might not like it. But before that, learn from people who are credible in the field. So this is something, this is a huge problem we deal with here in India, because Indian students, they want to do a lot of things. Like, literally, I see a lot of my peers, they want to do a lot of things. But there's one person, like one of my mentors, who said that the more desperate you are, the more easily you will be misled. So it's much more important to keep your eyes and ears open and to understand who is credible. So if you want to learn, get resources from a credible person or connect with that credible person. Ask that person, how do I start it? Or even if you do not want to go in that way, there is a path that is absolutely open to you. You can figure things out. Figuring things out is, all that matters. I mean, it's going to take a lot of your time, I get it. You might, stumble down and might go in a different directions, but at the end of the day, you will realize, if you figured it right, there's a lot of things that you will achieve. And then there is that journey that you can own, that people will never be able to take it away from you. So learn it and figure it out. There is never a one right answer as to how to start one. Now, the second part of the question is how to approach people. So, approaching people is a very fundamental reason here as well, as to why do you want to approach. Like, always answer why. We are always answering what is not exactly the question we need to answer. It's like why and then how. So why, how, and what. So answer why you want to approach people. Is it to start the community? Oh yes, if I want to start a community, how do I approach the people? Is I understand what is that thing that I can add to their own lives. Because we are all incentive based humans. We do a lot of work based on the incentive model. So when I was growing up, and I was super overactive, I was running around this and that, my father would provide me a toffee, my father would provide me a ball, said that this is the ball you can play with after you complete 1 hour of study. What exactly is this? It's like incentive based learning system. You do this. So how do you approach people? One of the best ways to approach people is show them an incentive. What are they getting out of it? I know I might sound a little skeptical here, that now we are doing a barter system, that it's a two-way thing, give and take. But this is how the fundamental thing is. This is how you can approach people about any topic or anything that you want to start in. So find out what is it that you can add value to, and then try to approach it. And if you want to know how to approach people more, there are again different resources as to how to dress up, how to talk, how to present yourself. So a lot of resources out there. We have all tried it at one point of time in our lives. So The third part of the question is have time to organize things and also have time to study and work. So I'll just try to answer this as how to organize things and how to study and work alongside. So this kind of basically depends on priority. Like, how are things for you? Like, how badly do you want it? Like, this is one thing that you need to take care of, so take care of that. Forget about the rest of the things. Just focus on one thing and just get it done. If you want to organize things, prioritize. Which part of the day are you going to work towards organizing stuffs? Which part of the day do you want to find time and study? So it all depends on prioritizing. So a lot of even my friends back in college, they ask like, how are you involved with so many communities? How are you working part time, and that too for a remote company that does work at an absolutely different time zone, the time zone when we are supposed to sleep? You're getting up and working. Well, you kind of have to manage your life, and time management is not something that you can honestly learn from reading a book. You can just learn by being there in itself and figure out what works best for you. So one answer to how to manage things is prioritization. So go for prioritization, and I think it's gonna probably add a lot of value to you. Thank you.
Barsha, thank you so much. And I think that concludes our meetup. So the chat is still there, so you can continue with the chat as well after I shut down the broadcast. Thank you so much to our speakers, Barsha and Will, for coming on today, tonight, this evening, this morning. Really, really fascinating talks, really, really interesting. Part of what this meetup is about is supporting the DevRel community, and it's not just the basics, right? So, code, content, and community, because we all know those basics about how to do DevRel, but it's also about our lived experience as developer advocates and the challenges we face, and everything from time management all the way up to, how do you actually get people to participate in your community? So thank you also to our wonderful community, everybody who has participated, asked questions, come along, supported our speakers. Thank you so much. The next meetup will be on April 26th, a Wednesday at the same time. Look at the devrelmeetup.com site for the new speakers. The recordings of these talks will also go up there if you want to share them with colleagues. Give us a day or two to get all that organized, but they will be up there so you can share these talks. Thank you so much again, everybody. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful night. We will see you again in a month. Bye-bye.